This Virginia Tech preview with Bud Foster edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is presented by WinBet. Bet $100 at WinBet and get $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by the College Football Experience. Get ready for the college football season by checking out all 131 college football team previews. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/CFB. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/CFB.
Hey, this is Derek Stevens. I'm the owner of Circa Las Vegas. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Cox. He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the money green with my partner picks Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog. Oh, what a great episode. What a great episode this is. I hijacked our feed.
Yes.
Virginia Tech preview. And we also hijacked the college football experience.
This is a real treat. I finally bullied my way on to the college football experience with Colby Dant, aka the Dantabase.
I was gonna try to get you on Temple, but you didn't show up, just like their fans.
Oh wow! Kramer, my phone wasn't ringing for Penn State, Cal State Northridge. They're bringing back their program. Go Matadors!
The Matadors are gonna have a football team?
No, that was a joke. They don't. Their basketball team's not horrible though.
Yeah,
look out!
Once in a blue moon,
they'll hit some threes. All right, here's the plan. We're going to be talking Virginia Tech football. If you missed it, we also just recently put out the ACC win totals podcast, so we got that. And for this episode, we're going to kick it to an interview with Bud Foster, then come back, walk through the VT schedule, give out our play on the win total, and maybe some future bets. Ryan,
maybe. If it, I will say this. Bud was talkative. So, Coach,
live wire,
Great guy.
Ready to run through a wall for him.
Yeah, definitely stay for the interview. Our picks are secondary. Coach Foster is speaking. You listen.
So we got Coach Foster coming up. Then we'll finish out the preview of the Virginia Tech Hokies. And of course, if you're betting on Virginia Tech or any college football team, NFL team, NBA, MLB, again, WinBet has it all. They just they continue to add to the college football NFL market. They just released for the NFL first quarterback with 5 touchdowns. That prop bet, that is a pretty fun one to get on. And we're going to be discussing the Virginia Tech Hokies win total, which is currently only at 6 wins over on WinBet. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to get started today. Of course, new customers bet $100, get a $100 free bet. The WinBet Casino open 24 hours a day where you can get a 100% deposit bonus.
Yes, sir.
And again, all available over at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Offers subject to change. Terms and conditions at winbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WinBet is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. We're also brought to you by Run Your Pool. That's right. Run Your Pool is the perfect place to actually run your pool. Pick'em, Survivor, fantasy pools, they really have you covered. We're actually going to be running our own SGPN Survivor, where you're going to be going head to head with not only other SGPN listeners, but SGPN hosts. Ryan and I are going to be in the pool as well. Colby, assuming he can figure out the Run Your Pool platform, which is very easy to
Patty
C.
You know who I know will be in there?
Yes.
Definitely Nick Dant.
The
better.
He's on the top of the Dant power rankings currently, and NFL Survivor. It's pretty awesome. We're giving away $500 cash and a gift card, $250 gift card to the SGPN store. So again, sign up for our free Survivor contest, and then set up your own Pick'em, Survivor, fantasy pools, whatever kind of contest. It's fully customizable. Just go do play.runyourpool.com/SGPN. That's play.runyourpool.com odds.com/SGPN. Last but not least, brought to you by Odds Trader. That's right. Odds Trader is the perfect place to compare odds from all the major sports books. Shop around, get the best codes, the best promos, and again, not only the best offers, but the best information, game day stats, player stats, injury reports, projected game day weather. Odds Trader has you covered. Live scores and bet tracking. All you got to do is go to oddstrader.com/Blue Wire. That's oddstrader.com/Blue Wire. Odds Trader, the #1 site for all your game day bets. Joining us on the line, special assistant to the athletic director, defensive legend from Virginia Tech, Bud Foster. Bud, or Coach Foster, appreciate you calling into the show.
Well, you can call me Bud. I'm not coaching anymore, so I appreciate it. No, I appreciate you guys having me, and it's that time of year. I kind of got a little, even though I've been out of it a couple of years, this will be my 3rd season out of it. I kind of got a little edge about myself, And,
I see it in your shoulders. You look like our friend Colby over here when he's talking college football and the hands come together.
Looks like he wants to throw the shoulder pads on.
Well, I'll lead off with this because I know you played safety and linebacker. I tried to find some visual evidence, but you were a neck roll guy, right, Coach?
I was, believe it or not, and that was because I struck people so hard. I had to do something to. But that was cool back in the day, and you had that big neck roll, and I was a strong safety, and then we moved to the wide tackle 6, and I kind of moved up to. I was still a strong safety. I just didn't play very much away from the line of scrimmage my last couple seasons, which was probably a good thing, for our defense. Was all said and done. Well, but no, it was Then I had to use that neck roll, and I get some stingers and. But that was when you could hear a good tackle.
Oh,
Now it's a little bit different nowadays.
Well, and so, I mean, just jumping right into it, you got to be excited. Another former safety coming to coach the team, and Coach Pry, I got to imagine maybe you're a little bit more involved. I saw Coach Pry down there running drills with the linebackers. So how excited are you? How excited is Blacksburg for the change? For the commitment to Virginia? It really, I mean, as an alumnus from across the country, so stoked for the changes and the optimism in the program.
Yeah, and I was with Coach Beamer here for 29 seasons, and then had the opportunity to be with Coach Fuente for 4. It didn't turn out. We had 3 of those 4 years. We had a pretty good run, but there is I think there's a fit, and I think Brent is a great fit for Virginia Tech. He played high school ball in the state of Virginia. When he left our place, he was my graduate assistant for 3 seasons. He always had his roots here, always recruited here, developed relationships here, and understands that. For Virginia Tech to be successful, the footprint of Virginia needs to be your footprint for football, and we have to cultivate that culture again. And that's the one thing I will say. This not to bash Justin at all. I mean, he's a really good football coach and has had a lot of success. But I probably Brent's asked my opinion more in 8 months than Justin did in 6 years here, and that and more Brent wasn't, what he needs to do, but what do we need to do to get back in and in this state? Number one, he was at Vanderbilt, and they signed a couple good kids out of here. Went to Penn State, signed some really good kids out of the state of Virginia. So he has ties, and I think that's really, really important for the state of Virginia, because that's how Virginia Tech was built. Through the high school football programs here, and we've got to get back to that. And he's made great inroads with that, but we're just at the beginning. But there's a new enthusiasm. There's an excitement. I think Brent really understands it's not the culture of the program. Justin's a football guy, but understanding the culture of the Hokie Nation, Blacksburg.
It sounds like
you go out to eat. People are going to take a minute at a time to come over and say, "Hey, how's practice going?" Or, "Hey, coach, we're really excited." All you do, it takes just a minute of kindness, and that goes a long way because it's a hard enough business as it is, and people are with you when you're winning. But when you have a couple unfortunate games, you want them to be in there with you then too. And I think that's Brent's identified that, and in his staff, and they've been very transparent, very open, very approachable. So I think that's a big part of understanding what the culture of Blacksburg and the Hokie Nation also brings to this place.
So you're saying that Coach Pry's been down to Big Al's a couple more times than Coach Fuente?
Well, I can't say that, but I do know this. There's he's a different personality, and that's kind of what I'm saying about this being a fit place. We had that with Coach Beamer. That was the one thing he always said is say, hey, treat people the way you'd want to be treated. If you don't act special, you'll be treated special. And I think Brent's kind of, understands those words and the expectations of his role, as the head football coach, at Virginia Tech and what that means. It entails a lot of things other than going out and winning on Saturday.
Did you keep in touch with him as, I know he was your GA, but then he went about his career at all these other stops. Now, were you keeping in touch with him that whole time?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I helped him get a couple of those jobs, and then, early on, and then, we've stayed in touch and visited with each other several times over the years. He's actually stayed at my lake house on several occasions. Coming back, his family was living in Pennsylvania at the time, or above Virginia somewhere, and he would pass through and spend the night, and we'd listen to the Allman Brothers, throw that as old CDs, and he's an Allman Brothers lover. If you guys get a chance, I know you probably talked to him, and if you haven't, at least ask him about the Allman Brothers. He'll tell you. He'll just go over their history. But anyway,
he'll be a rambling man.
We've spent a lot of time together. In various ways, enjoying one another's company, but also sharing ideas. And the last time we spent time together was before he went to Penn State. We went to I took our defensive staff down to Vanderbilt. I really liked just looking at different places, but also places that would talk to us. And they had a guy by the name of Bob Shoup, was also the assistant coordinator or co-coordinator with Brent, and really probably kind of ran it at the time there. But I really liked their 30 package, what they were doing like on dime situations and third down and that type of thing. So we went and studied them for a couple of days and got a chance to take in Nashville. Brent and his wife, Amy, took us around, me particularly around a little bit. And so that was fun to, hang out with them then. And then when he went to Penn State, they started recruiting in here a little bit more. I kind of, we crossed paths. I kind of gave him the stink eye a little bit, so, but no, Brent's, I'm happy for him. I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Virginia Tech. He's earned this opportunity, and I'll be his biggest supporter, and I've been around practice a little bit. I watch practice every day. He's asked me a couple times to look at something here or there. Nothing scheme wise, just more like drill work or some things like that to think if there's anything they can do a little bit better. So that's been pretty cool to be involved that way and to ask my ideas on a couple of things. And so, it's been good to at least be thought of, and when they're making some decisions on certain things.
And candidly, that's where the optimism, I think, in the alumni base is coming from. Like for me, I was there 2000 to 2004 when it was at its peak, and to hear that he's talking to you, to hear that the other players, like guys like Eddie, everyone that's played there, every single great player has stepped out, and whether it's the Fuller brothers or Eddie Royal, like they're all kind of expressing that optimism, and there's kind of been that story that's swirling around the time that Fuente didn't kind of walk over and say what's up to the 99 team. So the contrast of those two things is really where the optimism's coming. So not to stick on the team for too much, Coach, we do need an update on your retirement, because that's the important
I will
thing.
say this: it's been good. I've this off season though, with COVID kind of slowing down, I did get some opportunities to do some consulting, which I really enjoyed. I enjoy talking ball. Everybody asks me, "You want to get back into it?" No, I don't. Not so much that I don't want to do it because of the grind. I do love coaching ball. I love talking shop. I actually recently went to Marshall for 3 days their head coach, Charles Huff, who I think is really a young up and coming guy in the business, reached out to me, and I spent 3 days. He gave me a list of things to look at, and I walked around their fall camp and stuff. But, I've been to different places and done some Zoom meetings and different things like that as well. But I enjoy talking ball. I don't have to worry about the results though, and I don't have that 6-hour stomach ache on Saturday, or Saturday, or Thursday nights or whatever. I don't miss that part of it, but I do miss the relationships and being a competitor. I miss some of this stuff, but I've been doing that. We've traveled a little bit. We are going. So you guys, this is what I get to do, and we're going. Tech's going October 1st through the 8th. We play 2 road games. Back to back. So I'm going to Cabo. I've never been to Cabo. Y'all have ever been to Cabo?
Oh, he
right,
just
Coach,
got back.
Let's talk about it. I just spent 3 days in Cabo. Coach.
Okay, I've never been. You need to tell me some hot spots.
Well, step 1, just figure out what kind of drink you like. Find a spot by the pool and just relax. Other than that, best tourist thing to do, go rent an ATV, rip around the desert in an ATV, Coach. You'll love it.
That sounds cool. Well, we'll take a look at that right there. So,
but it's a town to do nothing.
I get to do that now. So, that's the fun stuff.
And fishing. I'm sure you're a man who loves to fish. Cabo's got some all-time fishing out there in the deep seas.
Well, my understanding is when we go, it's supposed to be marlin season. So one of the guys that goes with us, he's asked about anybody wanting to go. I'd like to go. My wife has shot me down on that. She wants me to hang around, hopefully by the pool bar. That's kind of where I'm thinking.
They got great spots, Coach. They got great spas there. Yeah. You can work out a nice deal.
I have a friend that goes often. He highly recommends The Office. It's called The Office. So check out that. But it's a restaurant. But anyway, hold on. I want to know this. Look, you're 3 years out. Your phone's still buzzing though. Coaches are got to be calling you saying, "Hey, do you want to get back into the game this summer?" Did you get a lot of calls like that? Or?
I got the only call I got. Larry Fedora reached out to me, and with the USFL, and asked if I'd want to be the coordinator for the New Orleans Breakers. And,
nice.
That was something. He said, "Hey, it's going to be a really cool gig. You don't have to. You just coach ball, man. Is all you do. You know." And I said, that sounds. I'd be interested in doing something like that. It's only 8 games or whatever they played, and I said, but my only deal is I have a trip to the British Virgin Islands, and it was like right in the middle of like their preseason camp. And I said, I'd probably get divorced if I backed out of that trip. He said, "Hey, I understand. I mean, enjoy life. I just reached out to you. I couldn't think of a better guy," which I was so flattered. And then I recommended John Tenuta because John was, right down the hall from us. And, his boy was playing his last year here. And then, so John was an analyst, and, he ended up taking that job, and they did a nice job. I followed that league a little bit this summer, which was fun. That was the only thing, Shane had reached out to me, when he took the job at South Carolina. But, I think guys have been really good about reaching out and inquiring, but nothing solid, just kind of checking on me, make sure I still have if I'm enjoying this side of life, or if I'm itching to get back. And I think as soon as they hear my voice, or see my face, it's like, well, I know what the answer is.
I'm curious though, like when you sit back on a Saturday that maybe the Hokies aren't in Blacksburg and you get to watch some other college football, maybe you see a Jim Leonard defense or something where, it gets you super excited. Is there a couple coordinators out there that you think are just, remind you of you back in say the 80s or early 90s?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I am a fan of college football in general. And, that's the one cool thing right now is I get a chance to watch football. I watched the Giants the other night on TV. I got a chance because I'll watch guys if our teams, our guys are on from our team are playing in the NFL. I'll tune in on those games. I'm still, analyzing though. To pick a couple guys, it's hard to say that, there's some guys I really think do a great job. You already mentioned one, Brent Venables, who, I'm really excited for him, was a guy that I thought really, was elevating our game defensively, with how the offenses are attacking and things now. But there's so many and it changes so fast. And, I'm not into the who's who link anymore, but I do enjoy watching college football. I do enjoy watching the rawness of it, the purity of it, the enthusiasm of it. But there's something special about college football, and I'm looking forward to the kickoff of this season. I really am. But I find myself analyzing it a lot, or looking at, okay, well, that guy missed his, didn't take securities gap.
Missed his assignment. What are you doing?
Yeah, I start looking at that kind of stuff. But that's, I can't get on the phone right now and get on and say, hey, your 3 technique got cut off, or got
43 out. Get out of here.
So.
Maybe you can work something out with Coach Pry. Get a radio into the middle linebackers ear. Exactly. A little tidbit here and there.
I will say this though, I'm enjoying. Last year was the first time I got a chance to tailgate. So I've always tailgated like after the game with my family that kind of hung around. But everybody was kind of gone, so I got the tail end of beers. It was all there's only a couple left.
None of the good stuff.
No, now I get to come early, and I get to be all in. And I really enjoyed that part last year. And I'm looking for that this year. The other thing I'm really involved in former player engagement. There's a gal, Samantha Stewart, that's involved in heading that up. I'm really the guy that gets all the contact information. That's one thing I've done over the years is stayed in touch with my guys. And being here now 35 years, but 33 coaching, I've stayed in touch with everybody. And guys, I didn't have their contact information. At least social media allows you an opportunity to reach out to them and gets us reconnected. So I've been involved with that, getting the guys back. We had about 150 for the spring game, which was really, really cool. We've got a couple games this year. I think it's BC, and then the Georgia Tech game are going to be some alumni games. So you're kind of really involved in that and trying to get our guy. The rules have changed so much now with his name, image, and likeness, and what guys can do now. What they can, how they can be involved in the program, how they can help. And so we're doing some different things to get them and more aware and involved. And Coach Pry is behind that 100%. I mean, he understands that they were the foundation, of building this thing and some of the biggest stars that ever play here during a certain time frame. But they can have a big impact, on this future of the program as well. So, he's embraced this, tremendously, which I'm extremely excited about. And I didn't think he would by any, stretch or form, but he's really embraced it and really likes seeing these guys back and like seeing them in front of, his current team.
You mentioned the NIL. We got to figure out a VT Lunchpail endorsement deal that maybe you can be involved in as well. And bring back that, the Lunchpail defense. Well,
I'd like to. I know there's been, a little conversation, from the staff to see if there might be an interest. And I would be more than honored if they would want to continue that. I mean, that's kind of who we've been. That's our brand. We got to get back to that kind of, it wasn't that that the Lunchpail it did make a difference, but that was who our image was because, we were going to outwork, outplay you, out tough you physically, mentally. We were going to do it longer. We were going to be more responsible, accountable than the other team, and that's just who we were. And everybody knew when we came, you were going to play the Hokies, whether it was home or away, that you were going to get 60 minutes of this, and they were going to be relentless and we weren't really going to beat ourselves. And that was, that's what the Lunchpail's about. It's not just a symbol. It's a toolbox, and for what those players have and, and the skill set that they have and everything it takes to be successful. But that's who we were and who we are. And we can't lose sight of that. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see something coming back. But hey, if you guys want to help promote this, the thing like with the Lunchpail.
We'll definitely add it.
Time out. This real estate right here. This is going to be a Lunchpail when I can get my hands on one.
Yes.
I do want to ask because I've heard some unverified rumors that Daryl Tapp has brought a Lunchpail into the an NFL locker room? I'm sure you're still in contact with Daryl. He's doing great things out there, but is that, do you have any confirmation that he has in fact brought a lunch pail into an NFL locker room?
I talked to Daryl just the other day. It's funny you bring that up. I did not ask him about the lunch pail, or did we talk about that? We talked about some other things, but I tell you what, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. I mean, you talk about a guy, he's the only player I've ever given the lunch pail to keep.
Oh,
wow. So he understands. To me, we've had a lot of great players, but he was the one guy that really exemplified what the lunch pail was about in all aspects of his life. You know what I mean? And when he was the first underclassman that I recognized as kind of our leader. That's kind of before the season started. I always gave the lunch pail to kind of our top dog, so to speak. And he got it as a junior. And I remember he stood up in our unit meeting and said, "I'm going to keep this thing for the next 2 years. Nobody's going to outwork me, and nobody's going to outplay me." And you know what? He did that probably for every game, but maybe 2 or 3 in those next, couple of years. And so at the end of the game, at the end of his time, I couldn't think of he deserved that just because he made so many people around him better. But that's how he played in the NFL for, 11, 12 years. And if you watch him, I don't know if you guys follow him on Twitter. He posted something the other day. He had a helmet on, pretty much. And he's an assistant coach now. He's out there working harder than the daggum players, man. And so it wouldn't surprise me one bit that he brings that, particularly in the defensive line room, and if not the defense. But it can mean so much. It's a great symbol, not just for football, but how to live your life in a lot of ways, or how to run a business, or how to do things. And that's the big picture of the lunch pail. But yeah, I mean, we do have a scholarship named after the Lunchpail Defense Foundation. It's given. We do have an endowed scholarship, so that's an open-ended deal. So if we can keep this thing rolling, people can still funnel money that way. And then who knows, we can get this NIL thing going, and we can get the top line, give it to the top defensive player. He can get $1 million.
Here's how it works. I just solved the problem. You just put cash inside the lunch pail.
There you go.
NIL problem solved.
You don't need the McDonald's bags.
And there's a certain amount of money. Those guys will be balling for that. They will be balling.
Yeah, I say we bring it back. I like the fact that my first time at Lane was a Thursday night where West Virginia played at Lane. I love seeing it on the schedule. And I think college football needs to not lose sight of these matchups like that. That game, out of the whole schedule, when I look, I get super excited about that. Tell me what it's like Thursday night, West Virginia at Virginia Tech. Are you excited to see that on the schedule, Coach?
Oh, without a doubt. Well, number one, I'm excited to see us play West Virginia again. That was it was neat playing them. I guess it was 2017. We played them up at FedEx Field, which was the first time we played them since about 2004, 2005, something like that. And so it's been a long, long time. And I have the utmost respect for that place, man. And going against guys like Don Nalen and then Rich Rod was there and doing some really good things. But, I have, that place reminds me of Tech so much as far as, good, hard-nosed, well-coached, tough, football. The fan base is very similar, very, passionate, very caring. But I think it's a great game. It should be a game that should be on our schedule every year.
I agree.
I really do think this. And but then for us I know we went up there and lost a tough one up there last year. We kind of got behind and had a chance to win at the end. We didn't. But to have those guys here again, but then have them on Thursday night, I think Thursday we kind of grew up. ESPN and us kind of grew up together. Back in the day with on Thursday nights, and to have ESPN back here and with a big time opponent and a long time rival, I'm going to be excited. I guarantee you this place is going to be rocking.
Well, we saw it against North Carolina. I mean, that was the game that ended COVID. It was a packed house. The fans were jumping, and people were reminded by ESPN how sick Lane Stadium is in the fall under the lights. So.
Well, we got to get it back. Everybody's still talking about we've got the best entrance in college football.
Oh yeah,
and that's really cool. But for the next 60 minutes after that, we got to be, we got to play our tail off and represent that, and that's the one thing that we did for a long, long time, and we got to get back to that. And Brent, I'm really excited about. He's got a good staff. I like how they relate to the kids. I like how they're recruiting. He's really put together an army of a staff. I mean, from not just his immediate staff, but just his strength staff, his recruiting staff, particularly. There's just so many more people than what we've ever had before. And, but they're attacking this thing and they've hit the ground running. And so now we've got to do it on the field. But I think it's going to take a couple years, to be honest. Unless we can stay healthy. I do like what we're doing offensively. I like the quarterback, what I've seen from him. I think we can put 11 on the field on both sides. It'll be that we can compete, not just be relevant. We want to compete for championships. That's what we've done here. And if we didn't win one, at least we were in the hunt. And so that's what we got to get back to. But if you can put 11, and early on in our career, like I can look back at 95 and 96, we won back-to-back Big East titles and beat Texas and lost to Nebraska in the Orange Bowl. But where we were different was we didn't have the quality of depth that they had at that time. And but we did have about 15 guys on each side, 16 guys. You might have had a third linebacker, a third corner, or a fourth, or a third end that could go rotate. But luckily, we didn't have the injury bug hit us. And then eventually we created our depth to where we could roll some people in, particularly at our defensive line, and that's when you get to be really good. And I think we'll have a chance if we can stay healthy. If we get beat up in a couple spots, though, all of a sudden we can be scrambling or playing with some really young, green, guys that are not very experienced at this level, and understand how to play at this level at such a high level at this level, But I tell you, I like where we're at, and I'm anxious to see where we are. I know we travel on the road and kind of a trap game at ODU, and we just got to go down there and control what we can control and play Virginia Tech football, and let's kick this thing off and see where we are.
Yes,
let's go.
And Coach Pry's got to get a lake house, huh? Just like you, man, right?
Well, I will say this. It's kind of cool. I guess it was last Thursday. He went in the staff or the team room, and they were supposed to practice. He said he's canceling practice, and he took everybody to Clater Lake, which is kind of my stomping grounds, as right down from Blacksburg. So Brent told me today, I guess they had 109 kids were there. That 107 of them gotten in the water. So that's pretty cool.
There you go.
So
sounds like a lot of fun.
Cool. But no, I tell you, I went down there. That's kind of my watering hole too. There's a little marina down there that the guy looks out for me and takes care of me. We went down there, but he spoke very highly of how respectful the kids were and what a nice group of young men they were. So now they need to get an edge as they get closer to this season kicks off here a little bit.
Get a little edge. Get a little
ornery. They need to start getting a little ornery now.
All right. Well, Bud, appreciate your time and best of luck with the season. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter at Coach Foster VT. And best of luck. Appreciate the time.
I appreciate it, guys. And again, thanks for allowing me to be on the show. I'm big fans of your guys, and but I'm excited about the season. I'm looking forward to tailgating and doing a lot of fun stuff this
Let's
fall.
go. Thanks again to Coach Foster there. Loved his energy. Loved what he brought to the interview. Guy must be drinking a ton of Trade coffee. I know Trade coffee gets me amped up, fired up, ready to go, ready to run through a brick wall. I always go for the high caffeine beans, and that's the great thing about Trade coffee. They give you custom beans matched to your specific coffee taste, your flavor profile, and Trade has just been dominating. Over 5 million bags of fresh coffee with more than 750,000 positive reviews. That is insane. And again, I look forward to every day when I get a Trade coffee package in the mail. The aroma is just bursting through the mailbox. I'm ready to run through a wall thanks to the Trade coffee. And Trade offering new subscribers total $30 off your first order plus free shipping. All you got to do is go to drinktrade.com/SGP. That's more than 40 cups of coffee for free. Get started by taking their quiz at drinktrade.com/SGP and let trade find you a coffee you'll love. That's drinktrade.com/SGP for $30 off. Also brought to you by Sleeper. That's right. Sleeper is the fastest growing fantasy platform out there, and you got to get involved on their new over/under game. You can win 2x all the way up to 20x the amount of money you put in. It's great right now for MLB player props. I've been having a ton of fun there. If you already have Sleeper, just click on the over/under tab, enter promo code SGP, 100% deposit match up to $100. Get in, let's cash some tickets, 2x all the way up to 20x, and they're going to have it built into their fantasy platform for the National Football League. Sleeper.com/SGP on your mobile phone, 100% deposit match up to $100. Terms, conditions, see Sleeper's terms of use for details. And EMAS, that means and more. And I learned that from Babbel. That's right. Babbel is the language learning app that sold more than 10 million subscriptions. It's addictively fun, and it's a great way to learn. I got yelled at a ton by my high school Spanish teacher. Kind of turned me off to it, but I've been traveling to Costa Rica a bunch. My wife learned Spanish over the pandemic. I've been getting into learning Spanish more and more, and it's nice to just have a little routine. And it's really Babbel is great for that. They got 15-minute lessons. Perfect way to get started. You can also say like, "Hey, I got a trip coming up in 2 months. I need to know some basic Spanish," or whatever language it is, Italian, German, French, whatever it is. They have 14 different languages. They also have speech recognition technology to help improve your pronunciation and accent. That is I've always struggled with that the most. So Babbel's been great for that. Right now, you can save up to 60% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/SGP. That's BABEL.com/SGP for up to 60% off your subscription. Me encanta Babbel. For you guys who haven't taken Babbel's Spanish classes, that means I love Babbel. Last but not least, Elias. Oh man, this is awesome. How have you not downloaded the Elias Game Plan app yet? It is the ultimate sports betting and fantasy companion for the NFL, NBA, and MLB. Just cashed a nice ticket on the New York Jets preseason game because yes.
#Legends only.
I got a bunch of good nuggets from the Elias Game Plan app. And you know Elias, you're like, hey, that name sounds familiar. You've probably heard their stats quoted a billion times from the Elias Sports Bureau because they are the official statisticians for a bunch of US pro leagues, including the NFL. And again, what's cool about Elias, it's not some algorithm supercomputer. It is actual statisticians coming up with this information, combing the record books, running the different programs they do to kind of pull out the best nuggets for fantasy, for gambling. And again, I love the information they have. It's really been helpful. I'm using it a ton. And again, get started today. They have a ton of free features going in the app as well. Elias Game Plan app today. Make sure you download. Get ready for the NFL season. Get it in the App Store or the Google Play Store today.
Statisticians, I think, would be the way. Statisticians sounds like one of those, like, what is that, like a makeup artist or something like that? Statisticians. Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Well, that's what Babbel's for, though, right? Pronunciation.
There you
All
go.
right.
I'm ready to get the lunch pail going, guys.
By the way, if
that was a great idea by me.
If we can get a lunch pail, please.
We'll have to talk to Jake.
Get him. We'll collaborate with Bud on getting his lunch pail into the merch store.
Well,
all right.
with NIL, we can have our own college football team, guys.
By the way, the cash in the lunch pail is really a great NIL promotion because it's both blue collar. I mean, it's blue collar to have cash too, so it's like a double entendre. All right. We are here to speak of only Virginia Tech. The rest of the ACC we've already covered.
Yes.
The crazy Coastal once again, as Coach Foster wasn't super high. I'll be honest. I was very optimistic. I loved his comment about how maybe Fuente didn't talk to him this much in 5 years. That felt like
it was funny. He clearly just went on.
I mean, not that I really wanted to be talking about it, you know.
He's talked to me in these past few weeks more than Justin Fuente, and I love Coach Fuente. He talked to me the entire time. It's like, wait, were you his defensive coordinator? He didn't talk to you?
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, he's running like a Chip Kelly weirdness over there.
Sean, that's what it was. It was very.
But he did say he liked the quarterback, and I do too.
Yeah.
And I know that some people have debated if he could be successful on the Power 5 level. I think he really can.
He was clever to compliment the kids while pointing out that they're thin. It's a new coach, so you have the normal. And I'm sure Colby's going to update us. I'll give us the number real quick. They're sitting at 6, which is the lowest win total I can remember for a Hokies team.
Pretty even juice, right?
But I think that blindly, if you're saying it's 6, which it is, they still have the best home field advantage in the Coastal. Like, go through the teams. What's another team?
So he was referring to Grant Wells, right?
Yep.
Yes, Grant Wells, the Marshall transfer,
Conference USA Freshman of the Year, Grant Wells.
Yeah, and he threw year 1, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Last year, 16 and 13, but there was a coaching change. I've been impressed. I remember the first time I saw this kid play, I said, "Whoa, he's got the it factor." And that could be a big thing.
The biggest thing that popped when I was watching the tape, aka the spring game, which I wasn't able to watch thanks to Justin Fuente for 5 years. Shout out to Coach Pry for bringing it back. Again, Coach Foster said 150 former players were down there. What was Fuente doing? Head up his ass. The biggest thing that I took away from watching Wells was the way. I mean, he's one of those guys that's not supreme athlete like Braxton Burmeister, but he works his legs well, and I think he'll need to do that. So, obviously, people will come in with the stock comment about the turnovers, but they're going to be playing a different style of ball, right? Like, what were they running over there?
Well, he was at Marshall within 2 different coaches.
Yeah, but
two different coaches.
But stylistically, it's not going to look the same as what it's going to look like in Virginia Tech. So, again, the spring game takeaway, he was a fun quarterback. I mean, he was always going to be the starter, so this isn't like shocking news. There wasn't a real competition going on, but they have some depth at the quarterback position. And to your point, Colby, and like we say so often with these college teams, it so much comes down to the schedule. And while they do have
they got some tough road spots,
2 separate back-to-back road spots. And as Coach Foster pointed out, a trap against those filthy Monarchs of Old Dominion.
Sun Belt, brand new to Sun Belt,
brand new to the Fun Belt. I do think that they have enough winnable games to at least have some optimism that they're not going to suck totally this year. Because I think if you just objectively looked at the roster, it's tough.
Well, he's alluding to this. He's saying the depth of the roster.
Yeah, it says if they get hit with the injury bug, they're going to be really in trouble. Colby, you mentioned Temple football earlier. What about Temple transfer Jaden Blue in the receiver room, who had 95 catches, 1,067 yards, and 4 scores in 2019?
What's happening?
I think that I know what's going on. He's going to his you got your season ticket package for $120 for Temple House?
I got some nuggets.
No, I think that's a good get. They're going to obviously need that. Trey Turner's gone. Tavion Robinson is gone. Yeah. They do have Caleb Smith coming back, but that's just 20 catches from the season before. The offensive line, though, I think is the gigantic X factor here, because
lost 3 offensive linemen.
Yes.
Right? Can I tell you why I'm
to
not,
the NFL?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I tell you why I'm not overly worried? Yeah, I'm worried, and they'll be good in the future. But they did bring in the best offensive line coach in the country, former Wisconsin offensive line coach, Joe Rudolph. So having him in the house makes me optimistic. When I hear players being quoted, when I hear beat reporters saying things like the players are like going out of their way to comment how much more they're learning, especially the offensive line rooms. They're learning so much more about football than under the old regime. I mean, it lines up with what Coach Foster was saying. Like, Fuente he was doing it his way, and it turned out his way sucked. And so now we got a guy coming
also
in.
Too, like their offense was 12th in the ACC last year. So even if they can just get up to like top 10,
Burmeister was
defenses,
horrible. Like
yes.
There was a lot of there's just a lot of stuff. Keeping Blumwork, he's a fun guy. He's kind of a
Colby. What about?
Hold on, Sean. This is funny. He won the teammate of the spring award, which almost sounds like a most improved player. Former quarterback. He's transitioned to tight end, which is a transition we've seen before from Virginia Tech quarterback greats, Logan Thomas. So I don't know. I think like any sort of optimism here is purely that this coaching staff is going to create a better product than the sum of the parts. You know what I mean? Like that's the.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that's the only case.
Well, and I think that's the Coastal. So it makes a ton of sense for me to play the over because you have no idea who's going to win these games. Yeah, Miami's overrated. We just talked about this yesterday. They're like USC or Texas.
I'll recycle it from the ACC episode, but all 7 teams in the Coastal have won the division over the last 8 seasons.
Yeah. So
Sean, it's like the NFC East.
Repeat. Yes, now they didn't play. They didn't have divisions during COVID, so I scratched 2020. But since 2013. Every single team, 7 teams, Sean, in 8 seasons have all won the division. So I why not, right? Like to Colby's point, great home edge. You know, you got some question marks in some of the other programs, specifically new coaches, etc. Miami with hype, etc.
I mean, all of it. I can make a case. You go one by one. I know this isn't the ACC preview, but Miami, depleted at wide receiver, new coach. Their fans never show up in that stadium. Then you go to Pitt. Well, Pitt. I mean, Narduzzi got rid of his offensive coordinator after their best season ever, and he's been talking foolishly about the guy. And it's like, dude, he won. Yeah, you had a Heisman contender. You had the first quarterback off the board, and you had you won the ACC for the first time ever, and you're bagging this guy. It makes me wonder about. He wants to go back to ground and pound. Look, and I love ground and pound. Look at the shirt, but I'm saying
fade Narduzzi. It's still in the notebook. So again, right? Like Miami chokes, Pittsburgh chokes,
North Carolina's already chokes. Got hit with the injury bug. So you can go one by one.
Mac Brown's just a recruiter at this point. Clearly can't coach football games. Look at Sam Howell. Went from a top prospect to a 5th round pick. I mean, just horrible what he's doing to his players over there in North Carolina. Then you have UVA.
You did also like him for Rookie of the Year, though.
UVA,
I love him for Rookie of the Year.
UVA has the most exciting quarterback in football.
Yeah, don't go after Brendan Armstrong.
Yes.
But they have the wrong new coach, and that's going to hurt. All right,
let's
Clemson's offensive coordinator is.
Let's see. Can we get him to 6?
All right, futures real quick. Conference 55-1. That's probably silly. Division 10-1.
Yeah.
Games in Blacksburg under the lights. All right, at old ODU.
Dangerous
game.
But
but I would say this. At least it's already on their radar. Like Coach Foster is saying, "Oh, the ODU trap game."
And ODU just their OC just resigned.
And which is not a good thing. And when you're, when you're a new coach and you're trying to win back the state of Virginia. And your first road game is out to the 757, where the richest of talent come from. You got to show out. This is how you start winning the state back. You go out there and you bend ODU over and you take it from them.
Nationally televised game. This is a very interesting one because of Ricky Ronnie.
Friday night.
Ricky Ronnie's the head coach of Old Dominion. He was the offensive coordinator at Penn State. You know who the defensive coordinator at Penn State was? It was Brent Pry. So you're going to see.
Virginia Tech is an 8.5 point favorite against Old Dominion. This very well could be a win but don't cover situation.
Reminds me a little of the day. I think it was your wedding day, Sean. Old Dominion won outright.
That was in Blacksburg, I think, too, right? Or no, where was that?
Cowards.
Yeah.
All right. So at ODU trap game, watch out. Then you have Boston College at home. That's
I mean, you guys have a history. Of Boston College got
Matt
one of the better quarterbacks.
Got an extra year.
Phil Jerkovic.
Well, NFL quarterback coming to town. Jerkovic could very well be the number 1 pick if things go well. And again, something we discussed in the ACC preview. There's some quarterback talent in this conference still that has experience.
The best quarterback play in the country.
That has experience, which is generally a key indicator there in college. Then we have the Wofford, the Terriers. Not a bye week for, unlike Stanford, Virginia Tech choosing to play a tough FCS opponent like Wofford. Then we head to Thursday night, West Virginia. So maybe the Wofford game, a little look ahead, but then we have West Virginia under the lights Thursday night. That's going to be a moment.
And that's out of conference, right? No. I'm sorry. You have one more. You have Liberty, right? Okay.
Yeah, because Boston College. So mark your calendars. You're going to want to check out the intro because obviously It's going to be lit. The last time.
That's the game I want to watch most on this whole schedule.
It's just like Coach Foster said, it's a rivalry that needs to be on the schedule every year. Then we have at North Carolina, at Pitt, tough little back-to-back.
So what do we got?
Do this by months. Do this by months.
So September
at ODU, home to BC, home to Wofford, home to West Virginia on a Thursday night. What are we really 4-0? Just go in there. Just go in there.
Which game do they lose?
I say 3-1. They're gonna fuck up.
They lose to Boston College.
3 and I'm gonna say 3-1. Someone will get them right.
4-0. Fuck you,
3
Coach Pry, baby. Let's go.
All right, then October what? At UNC, at Pitt, home to Miami, and then a bye week, and then at NC State.
Onions for Virginia Tech to put Miami as their homecoming game. I love the fucking swagger.
I like
the turnover chain. The lunch pail is greater.
They retired the chain.
They should bring it back. So they.
What are we doing here?
Steal it.
Can they go 2-2? I'm asking Colby because I'm thinking 1-3.
Oh man, I
Which
think
is the game?
I'm
3
with
road
you.
games.
I think I'm with you. It's possible though. That's what I mean about the ACC.
NC
is
State.
like,
Anything's possible, Colby.
Well, I'm saying more so than other conferences. You look at Vanderbilt's schedule. You look at some other teams. You're just like. These games are a lot of 50-50 games is my point. At North Carolina, Carolina lost their starting running back for the season. They lost their starting wideout till I think like Halloween.
Here's what I'll say. I think they lose NC State. I think at Pitt's a very losable game. It's not a place that the Hokies generally do well. But Miami coming to Blacksburg is something that they handle well. Miami coming to Blacksburg with expectations. This is something that they handle well. I think this will be a night game. If Coach Pry's powers are real, this will be a night game and things will be lit. 2-2. So I got him 6-2 so far.
I got him 4-4. I went 1-3 with
so
Sean.
they've already hit their win total. I'm going 1-3. So 4-4.
But how about this? You're not dead to win the 8.
No.
Finish out November.
November, I love the schedule.
Yeah.
Home to Georgia Tech. At Duke, at Liberty, watch out, watch out for Hugh Strip Club
Liberty.
Freeze. Then home to Brennan Armstrong and the Virginia Cavaliers.
Yeah,
so 3-1, right?
Colby, read between the lines.
4-0.
Coach Pry has been saying one thing: we have to win Virginia. We have to win back the state of Virginia. I think I saw that they don't have a single player in the top 15 players in Virginia locked up for 2023. You go to the 757. You have a game in Lynchburg. Against the
watch out, man. I'm just saying. I think Hugh Freeze X's and O's Y's is a better coach than most.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But these are important games for Coach Pry. He's not going to sleep into them. These are 100% statement games.
I'm saying 4-0. I'll go 4-0 though.
And then they have UVA at home, and feel free to pick UVA. They've won once in 19 years. Chris Long wouldn't even trade a Super Bowl for to touch a Commonwealth Cup.
8-4 is what I got.
So I'm going to finish out 4-0, back-to-back road spots. They'll find a way to get it done. Actually, you know what? I'll be conservative. 3-1. They go 9-3.
I'll go 3-1. I got them at 7-5, and I felt like I was a bit more realistic.
Yeah. This is a very easy over.
6-6. You're pushing.
Yeah.
I think that could.
Was that how it works?
No, I'm just walking it through.
Push protection.
5-7, I think could be their floor because I do think they're gonna win some of these games.
10-1 to win the Coastal seem because I'll put it this way: Georgia Tech and Duke are the two teams that don't have a chance. And so if you chop them out, Virginia Tech is the lowest or the highest, the longest odds to win the division. And honestly, like as much as it pains me to say, you probably just take Virginia and Virginia Tech because, like Colby mentioned, Virginia might have the best quarterback.
They have the best schedule. Virginia has the best schedule,
other than having to play Virginia Tech on the road.
Yeah, but I mean, we can talk about it on the ACC when their schedule is.
Yeah, we'll get into it, but
it's unbelievable.
We did already get into it.
Yeah.
Thank you for Colby. But yeah, I mean, I think. You guys tried to throw your shade. Colby, what was your record?
What do you mean? I said they were 7-5.
8-4.
Yeah.
I said 9-3. Is that too much?
No,
Coach Foster's going to be on the fucking sideline, dude. You hear what's going on here?
No, I'm high on the program.
He's in.
You don't need to bully me into
Coach. Did you hear the way he said? Coach Pry had me come by practice and take a look at a couple things. Yeah. Not scheme. No, not scheme. Just drills. He's throwing on a helmet. By the way, neck roll guy. I'm very aroused. I'm aroused.
Back when you can hit people.
I told Colby if he says no, I wasn't a neck roll guy, I'm going to be very disappointed. But
Ryan was really like, so you're definitely a neck roll guy, right? It's like Colby when we get one of these like spring football guys on. Okay, just say your neck roll, right? Okay, all right.
How's Kavonte Turpin looking, guys? Huh?
He had a kick return and a punt return for a
Yeah,
touchdown.
wow.
Unfortunately for the Dallas Cowboys, the good news is they probably
thought they couldn't play. I thought that was
Colby's
a wasted
rooting for a
league. Thought they weren't
Cowboy.
very good. He's better than a Giants wideout probably right now.
Oh wow!
All right,
Colby, what are you
Kadarius
doing?
Toney's in the studio right now. The Joka is working on his latest rhymes.
Yeah, it's important.
All right.
That's
give me the over all day. I like it.
All right, you bullied us into the over, Ryan. I hope you're happy. Shout out to Bud Foster again. That was a lot of fun having him on. Hey, toss us a nice rating and review and screenshot it. Submit it to Apple Podcasts or any other place you can review the show. Screenshot it, submit it. And how do you submit it? You just open the SGPN app, click on Merch Monday. There you go. Got a chance to win a $50 gift card, giving it away every Monday, aka Merch Monday.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, stacking the money green. He's Ryan.
Virginia Tech received no votes in the top 25 coaches poll. Fuck you.
Kramer, let it ride.